much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Good.
Good.
Good so far.
Good so far is good.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your role at Natixis, please?
Sure. Actually, I joined the bank only 2 months ago, so it's a change for me.
Okay.
I used to be the global head of oil and gas at Standard Chartered Bank, so I was based in London. So as you can hear from my very thick French accent, I'm French. I'm back to Paris in that role, sitting here at the headquarters of the bank in Paris. And so my role is I'm the head of the energy industry group, so in charge of all the investment banking activities for basically for oil and gas.
And you were on the funding panel yesterday.
Yep.
So can you tell me a little bit about that discussion? How did that go?
Well, that was a very interesting one because I've been doing that for quite a while, and some years when the oil price is down, you have very pessimistic views on the capacity to be financed and so on. And yesterday was very optimistic. So that was a very interesting panel with not only with companies that need money but also potential lenders. And the general tone was very optimistic. One thing that has changed, and that I think that was mainly the most important takeaway, was the fact that the market has changed. So you not only have banks today who can finance the industry, but you also have the traders who are coming to replace some banks who are leaving the market. You have also ECAs who are helping to finance very big projects, and also, of course, private equity. So it's change over the market, but still liquidity to finance the good deals in Africa.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you, is that, while investors are looking at Africa, the private equity does still seem a little bit absent from the oil and gas industry within Africa. How do you think that can be changed, and what are alternative sources that...
I'm not sure I would agree with you, actually. What we are seeing on the market today is a lot of private equity looking at opportunities in Africa. Maybe, they've not materialized yet, but I know that, all the guys that I'm talking to in the private equity industry, they are definitely looking at good opportunities for oil and gas deals in Africa today. So it maybe, in the past, it had been a kind of no-go for some private equity firms. It's not the case today. So
tell me a little bit about that. What's the change in the atmosphere been?
Well, look at where we can find good oil and gas projects with nice break-evens, because it's all about break-even prices when you want to do a good project and when you want to have good assets with a lot of upside. Africa is definitely a place where you can find good upside on good projects. So it's all about, as always with private equity, it's all about finding the right company to invest in with the right management and the right assets. But this is something you can find in Africa today. So I have no doubt that in the coming 12, 18 months, we will see more and more private equity firms coming into the market.
Okay, and as a banker, where do you see the biggest opportunities within E&P industry?
The good thing is that we are seeing it everywhere in Africa. It's not only West Africa, it's also East Africa. Think about it. You have all the opportunities today for new acquisitions in Nigeria or in Congo or in Gabon. So or in Ghana as well. So, there's a lot of move today. Companies want to refocus on their businesses, like some US companies who decide to go back to the US and divest. And you have the private equity firms, putting together new companies with new management teams and buying assets. So that's the trend on West Africa. East Africa, you have a lot of developments. Of course, there are the big LNG projects that you have today, particularly in Mozambique. And as you can see, all the majors are there and willing to invest, dramatically invest in this country. You also have the potential developments or big developments in Uganda or in Kenya. So the market is really moving all over the place in Africa.
It's great to see so much positivity and optimism within the sector. So tell me, where do you see the value in assemblies like the Africa Assembly?
Well, I think the first value for me, I think before we had that discussion, I was telling you that I've been a sponsor of the Oil Council from the very beginning with Ross Campbell when he did the first conference.
Many years ago. We won't say how many.
We won't say how many. No, definitely not. And I think the important thing for me is that when I arrive on the first day at the Africa conference here in Paris, the first hour you can feel the atmosphere. And you can feel whether the market is in a good shape or the market is not. And there have been some years where definitely you were coming here and people were depressed. There were cost reduction, people were fired. So that's usually what happens in this industry when oil prices are down. You can feel today, and you can feel this year, that people, as it was the case on the panel as well, people are definitely optimistic. We can see that the trend is up.
Is upward.
Yeah.
There we go.
So which is good news.
And, you mentioned you've been partnering with the Oil and Gas Council for a long time. What's your experience been like, and why do you keep coming back?
For that particular reason I just mentioned, you come here and you feel the market, and
it's immediate. You know what's happening.
Exactly.
You don't need to speak to anyone. You just need to walk in the room and grab a coffee.
Yeah, there are definitely. You can feel the atmosphere. And then at the end of the day, because on that business you need to travel a lot, because obviously you need to go to Africa to meet people, but you need also to go to the US or in my case, go to London or Singapore, because you're also meeting investor, potential buyers of assets and so on. You come to that conference and you meet all these people in one place, which is always good. And what I've seen over the last 10 years is that actually the quality of people coming in has increased, so which is good news.
Fantastic, yeah. And what is some of the impact of those relationships and kind of meeting in a space that's still formal but also a little bit informal, where you can really be honest about things?
I think it is informal. You can feel it when you're in the room. Also, we are not in London. The Chatham House rules would definitely apply, and you can feel that people are quite transparent about how they feel about the market, and making statements about what they want to develop and so on. So yeah, that's a good forum for open discussion. And of course, there's the discussion in the conference room, and of course the discussion around the lunch or around the coffee.
Which is potentially the most valuable thing
Indeed.
that you can get. Yeah. Are there any other thoughts that you would like to share regarding the conference, or the outlook projects that you're working on upcoming?
Well, I think, as I said, it's always important for me to come here every year because you can feel the market, and particularly this year for me, it's very important because as I'm just joining Natixis after being 6 years with Standard Chartered, starting a new job, so talking to a lot of people in with my new responsibilities. And again, I think it follows what my bank, Natixis, today is doing, is following the market and following what oil and gas is doing right now. The oil and gas industry is a very big focus for Natixis today. Natixis has been very consistent with the industry for the last 20, 25 years, never left the market, always supporting and accompanying the clients. And that's what the bank wants to continue to do. And we are investing in developing the business again.
Fantastic. Frank, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.